Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include the head of Amazon Game Studios stepping down, the 150 plus unique dungeons Diablo 4 will have, Diablo Immortal's release deadline, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now, before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, Keeps, which is all about keeping your hair. About 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they reach 35. Now, some men lean into that shaved head look, but some enjoy having and styling hair and want to know, are there any options? There's no magic cure for baldness, but there are preventative steps to stop it from progressing and keep the hair you have. Keeps is a subscription service that focuses on making it easier and more affordable for men to treat their male pattern baldness, all from the comfort of their home, using clinically proven, research-backed treatments at about half the cost of a traditional pharmacy. Physicians at Keeps will help pick the right treatment plan for you, and every treatment plan comes with a full year of unlimited messaging, so you can contact your prescribing doctor at any time. And then it's as simple as subscribing and having everything you need delivered right to your door, with refill reminders sent to ensure you don't run out of what you need. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/RHYKKER. In our first quick bit of news, E3 2022 has been fully cancelled. No real-life show, no digital online show either. However, it will return in 2023. E3 has been held annually in Los Angeles from 1995 to 2019. It was first cancelled for the first time in 2020, and then in 2021 they had a digital show. Now, with more and more big publishers doing their reveals on their own schedules, a lot of people have even begun to question the need to have a giant expo like E3 anymore. It used to be this huge thing that everyone got excited and hyped about, but with fewer and fewer big reveals happening at E3, with all the major publishers deciding to do their own reveals, well, I turn the question to you folks. How much do you still care about E3, and how much more did you care in the past? Sound off in the comments. In other news, we learned this week that the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has been delayed to a spring 2023 release window in order to extend development time. Development on the sequel began in 2017, right after the release of the original, and the game's setting has been expanded now to include the skies above Hyrule. Breath of the Wild released to universal acclaim, so this sequel has big shoes to fill. I don't blame them for wanting to take a bit more time. In other news, co-op action game Warhammer 40k Darktide has received a new release date. Originally expected in 2021 before getting pushed back to spring of this year, the game will now release on September 13th. First announced in 2020 by the makers of Vermintide, Darktide is a 4-player FPS set in the hive city of Tertium, in which you'll fight hordes of enemies. It's Left 4 Dead 40k edition, for those who are unfamiliar with Vermintide. This week also saw the reveal of Piece Odyssey, an upcoming turn-based JRPG based on the hit manga One Piece. Made by Bandai Namco and Ilka Inc., the dev behind Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl, it lets you play as a number of the Straw Hats after they've been shipwrecked and separated on a mysterious island filled with imposing creatures. It's set to release later this year on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. In other news, Mike Frazzini, the head of Amazon Game Studios, is stepping down so that he can focus on his family. Frazzini first joined Amazon almost 18 years ago, working in the book section of Amazon before becoming head of Amazon's newly formed gaming division, an endeavor that cost Amazon hundreds of millions of dollars a year through multiple canceled projects, before finally releasing a commercially successful PC game in 2021, New World, which saw record player numbers at launch but received mediocre reviews, and those player counts quickly dwindled down. Amazon Games was also behind the Western release of Lost Ark this year, another success, but that's not quite the same as making a game from scratch. Frazzini had come under some criticism for his inexperience in game development, and it's currently unclear who his replacement will be, but Amazon would be wise to use its deep pockets to snag an industry veteran if it wants to really be serious about gaming. And on to Diablo news, starting with Diablo 4. This week we got the release of the first quarterly update of 2022, and its focus was on environment art, but through it we did learn a few more tidbits about the game, its locations, and its dungeons. Of particular note was that Diablo 4 will have over 150 handcrafted and procedural dungeons. As a comparison, Diablo 3 has roughly 50, so yeah, that's a lot more. In Diablo 2 news, a bit of a scare happened this week with D2R. A server maintenance update caused an issue, and they had to take down the servers and do a rollback to fix it. Some people started talking doom and gloom for the upcoming release of 2.4, thinking we're going to get another delay to the latter start, but Pez Radar came in to assure us that the maintenance was a success, the rollback was small and to fix something minor, and that April 14th is still the target date for 2.4 release. There is one issue, however. Once 2.4 launches, character names will appear in all caps. Game breaking. Also in Diablo 2 news, if you're looking for something to do before the new ladder season, a new league in Project Diablo 2 began yesterday, a special league with only magic, rare, and crafted items. There's increased XP rates in Hell, and you can get free Uber materials to try to take on the final bosses that they added in this mod. And in Diablo Immortal news, we got some news on the game's release window and an update on cosmetics and class changing. Pre-registrations for Immortal are now open on iOS, and the App Store lists a June 30th release date. However, that's been confirmed by Blizzard to just be a placeholder date. We've known ever since the last delay in 2021 that Blizzard was targeting the first half of 2022 for Immortal's release, and June 30th is the last day of the first half. So it's pretty typical to see in storefronts when you are given a release window, you put in a placeholder date that is the very last day of that window. However, one interesting factoid is that the App Store has certain rules. Once you enable pre-orders, you have up to 180 days to release your product. So even if Blizzard ends up delaying past their window of the first half of 2022, which I don't believe they will, but in theory, then they will have up to the end of September to meet that 180-day rule. Basically, the iOS pre-registration is a sign that the game's release is finally coming. They are committing. And Blizzard is coming out of the gates swinging. They've established a pre-registration goal. If at least 30 million people from across the globe pre-register to play the free-to-play Diablo game, then all players who log in the first month of the game's release will receive a special Horadrim cosmetic set. 30 million. To put that into perspective, 3 years after its launch, Diablo 3 had sold 30 million copies across its base game and expansion. Of course, 30 million for a free game is a lot easier to achieve, but that's still a giant number. And I don't think Blizzard would have aimed for that number. They didn't think they could achieve it. Then in a blog post, the devs gave more details about how cosmetics will work in Immortal. Now, normally the gear you wear dictates how you look, and that gear will be worn on your character or carried as appropriate without altering your character's anatomy. A hat, for instance, is a hat. It goes on your head, it's not going to go through your head, it's not going to change the shape of your head. However, cosmetics are skins that can fully transform how you look, like turning you into a spooky ghost. Cosmetics are acquired per class, so you have to get a cosmetic multiple times if you want it for more than one class, but each cosmetic set is available for every class. Cosmetics will affect your outfit, your weapons, and some even include custom animations. They're also going to look different across the different classes as appropriate. And they're planning to roll out a new cosmetic set for all classes each month, themed after the month's battle pass. And that honestly sounds like a huge amount of work. I'm sure part of Immortal being delayed to this point was them front-loading a few months worth of cosmetics for when the game launches, because since they also plan to be adding new classes over time, making a new cosmetic set every month that must be customized for every class and every gender, that's a lot of work. That's basically 12 cosmetics right off the bat, right? 6 classes, 2 genders. That's 12 cosmetics you gotta make every month, and that number is just going to keep growing as more classes get added to the game. Now, if you buy the Battle Pass for a given month, you'll be able to unlock the cosmetic for one class, and buying the Premium Battle Pass will also include custom portal skins and portrait frames. Other cosmetics will also be available in the shop, and there will also be free cosmetics and some that you can earn through playing. Now, this is the monetization model I really wanted for this game. Just the cosmetics. I don't know how viable Cosmetic MTX is as a business model for mobile games, though. My understanding is that they didn't start off with Cosmetic MTX because it was not a proven model on mobile. I don't know if things have changed since then, it's been a number of years, but that's the reason why that we have the other MTX in there that we have. Cosmetics is a proven model on PC, and I can see, for instance, Diablo 4 possibly using a cosmetic system similar to this. Now, apart from cosmetics, we also learned about how as you level up your legendary gems, you'll see your growing power reflected in your gear. Every legendary item in the game will have its own unique visual progress to accompany your gem's growing power. It's definitely nice to have this visual progress. In Immortal, you will not be starting over with a new character every season. You'll keep investing into the same character for the long term, and that'll mean that once you've geared up, your character basically never changes from a visual standpoint. So giving this long tail progression a visual indicator is a nice way to help make players feel like they are continuing to grow in power. Now, I know some people are gonna say, oh, I hate all these over-the-top effects. I'd rather just look like the guy on the left. And while I won't comment on whether they could be toned down a bit or not, I will say two things. First off, most of these people who are saying they hate these effects and want to look like the guy on the left probably are not planning to play Immortal anyway. Am I right? And second, remember that you're playing this game on a phone screen, where details are much tinier and harder to read than on a giant 27-inch monitor. And lastly, the devs also spoke about a class change feature. There will be some limit on how often you can do it, but you'll be able to take your current character and change its class in town. You'll retain all your Paragon levels, all your progress, but your equipment will disappear. It's going to be saved on your original class in some void space, and you'll be given on your changed class some starter gear, but you can transfer all your item upgrades and gems into this new gear. You will, however, have to find all the legendary items for your new class. Then, if and when you swap back to your original class, you'll get all your old gear back, and your new class's gear will get saved into that void space. Basically, the devs didn't want players to feel like they had to give up all the progress they made on their main characters, or to create alts just to be able to adapt to balance changes or a shifting meta, and this is an interesting solution. Now, I'll reinforce here that Diablo Immortal is a game about very long-term progression. It's hard to estimate, but it could easily take you a year or more to fully finish upgrading everything on your character. This is not Diablo 3, where you're done in a couple of weeks, and you can easily have 7 fully geared characters in a short amount of time. It's not even Diablo 2, it's even harder than Diablo 2, but think of it like Diablo 2, I guess. Farming for endgame gear with your sorceress for a paladin you want to make. You're doing all the work on your main character, then basically you just class change to equip all that gear. The only difference here is that in Diablo 2, it'll take you a bit of time to level up your paladin, whereas in Immortal, it'll instead take you a bit of time to find that gear, since you can't farm that gear on a different class. For full details, you can read the blog post for yourself, link in the description. And that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video, in which we discussed the Diablo 2 ladder start date and Diablo 3 season end date. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you saw on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon, and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.